and go quickly, and I'm going to start us with what's going on just to set the context and then move forward into the what and the question that everybody wants to know, which is how. So when we are looking at women in leadership, the answer to this question is often one step up and two steps back. We seem to finally be in a place where attitudes are changing and changing more rapidly because the working groups themselves have changed. Since the working group has changed, what we have are leaders who have not changed. We have a variety of people in our workplaces, genders, ethnic backgrounds, a Canadian populace. And we have not got leadership that has yet followed. And of course, circumstances, situations have occurred. One of the things that has occurred is, of course, with the pandemic. The number one group of people who resigned and did not return, of course, were women. And we have to follow this. No matter what we seem to do, as many of you know, is we wind up with leadership positions held by women that are steady at between 5 and 7%. And this 2024 study came out by Madson and Garova. Madson, who of course, Susan Madson, who's been studying for the last 30 years of her career dealing with advancing women into leadership. And it says, if we keep the current pace, women will reach parity. When? How many years? Any guesses?
25.
125 years. If we continue at our current pace. So more about that in a minute. So this lovely report by McKinsey, the McKinsey report, gives us this same statistic. As we see, when women and men start, we're almost at parity. Entry-level positions are 52-48. And as we advance each level, manager, senior manager, VP, senior VP, right to the C-suite, we see women entering those in lower and lower numbers until we get from the 26% at entry to, again, our 5 to 7%. And no one can really explain why. So how? How are we going to move forward? What are we going to do? So let me back up one step. I started by doing an international study. I researched women in top positions in only English-speaking countries, to be fair, in Canada, the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia. I went to women who were in these positions of power, and I was amazed at their graciousness, at their willingness to give me their time. Because I asked them, what are you doing differently? Instead of reading all of this very difficult literature about how terrible everything is, and at the end of it you feel mightily depressed, I wanted to start out a body of literature that was looking at what these people are doing well. What are they doing better? How did they get there and how are they maintaining? And I want that to be our focus so that we disseminate that information to our students, to our cohorts, to our colleagues, so that we can continue to move forward. So how do we apply these successes to the general population, and how do we support success so that people can continue to move forward and so we can get to a greater gender parity in a lot less time? So I developed a model, and this was based on the information that came out of that research. And the big key, of course, this is not something new, is identity. Identity is everything. And when we look at identity, we also have to admit that not everybody is built for the C-suite. Not everybody is going to be up there. But we're asking for parity, all right? So initially, we look for women who enjoy these things, enjoy challenge, they enjoy change, they enjoy this fast-paced work environment, they enjoy teamwork, and yes, they enjoy working very hard. If any of you, and I'm sure all of you have, knowing where you are, sit down at your desk or sit down at your workplace or stand up and you look at the clock and it's 9 o'clock, and you're doing your work and you're enjoying yourselves, and you look up again and it's 11:30 and you forgot to have your coffee break, this is the kind of person who winds up in this place. So once we have this initial set of characteristics, we then have this combination of personal strategies and professional strategies that build in to continuing to grow and develop. This growth then leads us to more advancement. And the advancement and the preparedness leads us to an increase in confidence. And that confidence leads us to a change in the vision of ourselves. Now, there's a variety of different things here, accepting new roles, relationship building, development of personal skills. And on the professional strategy side, management skills, meeting skills, and mentoring. Now, 20 minutes? Oh, and sorry, everything here is tied together with our metacognitive strategies. So educators have heard of metacognition, of course, and we have the idea of learning about learning and continuing your reflective practice to be supported by mentoring and to be supported by feedback as well as research and then continued application. This is our basic metacognitive strategy. So we want these things to work in a cyclic kind of pattern. Today I'm going to hopefully talk about personal skills and mentoring and just take those two parts in our excitingly tight 20-minute timeline. So let's get to the nitty-gritty. What do we do? The first thing women need to do is look for mentors. And the first thing people say to me is, I'm really nervous because someone's going to say no. In my interviews, in my continued research, 98% of respondents say yes. 98! It isn't a 50-50 chance you're going to find a mentor. It's a 98 to 2% chance. So the first thing we need to do is ask. You have to own your personal growth. You have to own your increase in skill building activity, in listening, and in developing work-life balance. This is another key for women particularly, and as we've said, dealing with our metacognitive strategies, especially when we speak to our mentors. Next, we need to develop and define our own leadership style. Find what the leadership styles are that work for women. We're going to talk about those a little bit, and choose the one that works for you. Yeah, choose it, develop it, and as the boys say, work it. So we need that going. And build your network. You're here. That's a great first step. Find people, talk to people, see people you think are doing great work. Go to them, talk to them. They don't have to be your mentor to be part of your network. Build that network. Your network, the key is net. Few people would go up on the high wire without a net below them. Okay? Your network is your net. Just because you're trying something new, it doesn't mean you're going to succeed. If you fall into the net bounces you back up. All right? Get that network going. And accept opportunities. For whatever reason, women always think they're not quite qualified enough. Regardless of if they have the qualifications, 15 years of experience, someone has asked them if they're interested. Oh no, I think Bob, Henry, Tom might do a better job. Or even worse, oh, I don't think I'm ready. And the next step is to someone else, usually who is a man, and usually less qualified than the first choice, which was you. So you have to practice accepting. Accept it when someone offers you the job. If you feel nervous, if you think, I'm not sure if I'm ready, ask for a day. Could I have a day to consider that? What a wonderful opportunity. Talk to your mentors, go to your network, see what you need to do. Am I ready? Am I just being nervous? Find out and then accept. And this doesn't mean accept jumping off the glass cliff, all right? It means starting with something small and building your way up. If you really are out of your depth, well, then fair enough. But most often we are not out of our depth. We are just not used to saying yes. And the two places you want to make sure you're accepting jobs are line management positions and positions that have budgeting attached. If you do not know how to run a line budget, run a line budget. The number one reason women don't get asked to do these jobs and men do is because they have at some point run a line budget. It might be their friends' beer sales, but there was a budget attached and they put it on their resume. Now their resume says they know how to run a line budget. Please, ladies, gentlemen, all right, you can too. Ladies, repeat after me. Ready? I will learn how to run a line budget.
How to run a line budget.
Once more with a little confidence.
I actually love it. I learned already and it's fun.
Okay, and it's fun. Ready? I will learn to run a line budget. I didn't hear you. And it will be fun. And put it on your LinkedIn resume and put it on your CV. This is one of the main things you need to know how to do if you're going to fall into that C-suite. Again, start small. You don't have to run the top line budget. But as you continue, build up. This needs to not only get learned by you and done, you need to put it on your CV. Okay. And last, as we are building and growing and changing with our identities, we need to see ourselves with new eyes. Okay? If you really have to buy a new mirror in order to do that, do it. You need to look at yourself differently as you have changed. All right? And that takes practice. We get stuck in these old mindsets of thought, but we don't need to. All right, let's go to the how. How do we do these things? Mentoring. The first thing you need to know is that, of course, if you're nervous and you don't have mentors, of course you can still do it. Unfortunately, it takes you literally 3 times longer, if not 4 times longer, based on the research. We know this. So the fastest path for women to have mentoring and have success with it is to get informal mentors, not formal workplace mentoring. You need to have multiple mentors who are of mixed gender. Why do we need various genders, please?
Different skills, different experiences.
Expertise, experiences, and?
Networking.
Perspectives. Women do not have the same perspective as men do. Not a surprise, okay? I think we all know that looking around our room. But you need to access that different perspective. Find good people, yes, good men, okay? Find them, talk to them. Find skills, people who have skills in different areas to you, and continue to access those people as part of your network and as part of your mentors. One person isn't going to do it, okay? And all genders. This is our key. Different genders offer you different perspectives. Include those people in your group. This seems like very common sense. But formal mentoring programs, if you cannot find an informal mentoring program, and there is a formal mentoring program in your workplace, yes, access it. The most underutilized thing at a workplace is a formal mentoring program. They don't work as well, but they're still twice as fast for your advancement as if you have no mentor. But make sure it's not your reporting manager. It could be somebody who's 2 up, or someone who's in that next line up but in a different department. That's better. Simple reason. Why don't you want your reporting manager to be your mentor? Why not? What's your guess?
Conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest?
Safe space, maybe?
Yeah. Do you really want your reporting manager to know you're a little bit nervous about this new job? Do you really want them to know this is kind of a weak area? No, you want to show them your strengths. And you're going to have weak areas. So what? We all do. Develop them and get help with that. So, mentor should not be your direct line report. And yes, use that formal program if you have one at work, and pair it with the informal mentoring as you continue to grow your informal mentoring network. Mentoring does work. It works, but you are the person who has to work it. You've got to use your metacognitive strategies. You've got to come prepared to those mentoring meetings. You've got to have questions to ask, and then you have to listen. What are they telling you? If you don't like it, why don't you like it? Add in your metacognitive strategy. Okay, what are the main challenges we have, especially in academia? First, bullying. 90% of the respondents across 4 countries and all levels talk about a level of bullying in the academic forum, where they must go into a boardroom. They're probably the only woman or one of 2 women who is sitting at the table at these higher levels, and there's this derision, this feeling of, I'm going to put you in your place. And they talk about fighting that, and they find that that is the number 1 issue, getting past that. Next, asserting their own management authority effectively and without some kind of big drama. Third, maintaining your research profile. You've got to have it in order to walk the talk. Okay? And last, half the women said just being a woman was the biggest challenge. However, when we looked at this, they gave us specific steps, okay? Withstanding attack, maintaining your self-control. If you lose your temper, what do we call women who lose their temper? What's the adjective?
Emotional.
Difficult, emotional, hysterical. But a man who loses his temper is effective and assertive and, oh, he stood his ground. So you need to make sure you're presenting yourself as in control. You can cry at home, okay? But in that room, you need to do this. The biggest challenge is that I think they said about 60% of these women said when they get angry, there are tears. And that is just a physical response in their anger. So what we have to do, on top of the most important thing, win the argument. If you are right, stand your ground and win that argument. However, you don't just do, I'm not waving a wand, okay, bing, all right, I'm not Harry Potter, but you need to practice. Find your network, build your group, and yes, practice getting someone to shout at you unexpectedly in an argument. Practice, all right? Do you think men don't shout at each other in arguments? This is actually the problem. You can't even go to a pub and see 2 men not shout at each other over a basketball game. So, in some way, this is a male communication pattern. And men can often be astounded. Why is she so upset? We were just talking about work. So, it isn't always someone being evil to you. This is a communication pattern that you can overcome. Practice. Next, Your management authority. Confidence. Confidence comes from preparedness. Be prepared. Know your stuff. Do your research. Know the game. Who's in the room? Who's the one who's the shouter? Who's the one who's on your side? Where do you sit in the meeting room if you want the chair to catch your eye? Do we know the answer? 4th and 5th seat on the right side of the table. 2nd place, 4th and 5th seat on the left side of the table. And if the table is excessively long, do not sit at the back. It's too far away. We're all old and wearing glasses, okay? But get your support before you go in the room. Find the right people, talk to them, and listen. When we have people who are on opposite sides of the fence, we need to know what they're saying. I don't mean male, female opposite sides of the fence. I mean on the opposite side of the argument. Listen. Listening doesn't mean you agree. It means you're going to find a way to defeat the argument. But don't get into this place where you're so upset from the bullying that you're not hearing what's going on, so you can't argue effectively. Profile. You have to publish. Get your grants, because money talks. Keep your qualifications up to date. And if you are current, then you are ahead of the curve. Find out what's going on and stay there. Okay, now here's the good thing. This was a 50-50 split, okay? Some people saw just our gender as being a negative, a challenge. But you already stand out. That's what the other half of the room found. When you walk into that boardroom and there's now 3 women in there, people have noticed already because you're already different. Use that attention to your advantage and continue doing your good work. It may take a little while, but as you continue your level of good work, people have no choice but to notice. They have no choice but to notice what you're publishing. It's out there for everyone. And again, use that network. Madeleine Albright, I was lucky enough to teach in a university in Dubai, National Women's University, for about 4 years. And one of the reasons we were lucky is that they would bring in amazing speakers out of the blue. Madeleine Albright was one of those speakers. At the time, she was the US Secretary of State. She came in and she was talking to these young women in the Arab Emirates about leadership and women. And one of the things she said is that she built a network of other women, and that together they had agreements. If there was another woman who was Secretary of State in another country and they had made them part of the network, they had an agreement. They would accept a phone call from that person. Even when they were knee-deep, they said, okay, it's another woman, I know her, she's calling me, we've made an agreement, she's in my network, I take the call. Your network has to have strong women who you will support and who will support you. All right, briefly, on your personal strategies, you've got to accept the new roles, you've got to build relationships, it's give and take. All right? And developing your personal skills. We've talked about metacognitive strategies. We've talked about line budgets, okay? Be collegial. Find people. Talk to them. See them. Listen to the divergent. Those divergent views are important to you. You don't have to agree with them. In fact, if you can politely have a conversation about how you disagree, you're miles ahead. A lot of times people just want to be heard, okay? But on your personal skills, you need your mental toughness. You've got to develop that, and it takes practice. Get into your groups, find a few friends, have a good academic argument about something, all right? When you get in that meeting, speak. Ask one question. Make one comment. You have to be heard. Be thoughtful. What do I want to say about this? Get it in your head before the meeting. Say it, okay? And accept our opportunities, all right? The best leadership model, there are several. We know we talked about transformative leadership, authentic leadership, which makes me laugh because they're all authentic, and inclusive leadership as the main models that women utilize and that work well for them. The current research is saying the best model for us now is inclusive leadership. I am desperately running out of time, but remember, the leadership model you choose ultimately is the one that works for you. If it works for you, find it, utilize it, develop it within yourself, okay? Inclusive leadership, if you don't know about it yet, look it up. It accepts ideas of intersectionality, which is our big key. Intersectionality is our new hot topic. It's coming for you, and you can accept it and thrive. And find people in your organization as well and accept their intersectionality for growth. Okay, we've looked at the challenges, we've outlined some skills, we've talked about some possible strategies. 2 final pieces, one of them you've already agreed to. Have a look at your identity. Know who you are, see who you can be. All right, take that choice, look at yourself. What do I really want? Can I see myself in that role? If you can't, start smaller, build up, and take one small step. So you've agreed to 2 things. The first thing is that you will learn to run a line budget. And the second thing is that you're going to take one small step. Our last presenter had philosophers. He was talking about this. Well, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one small step. As to our story about 125 years, I don't buy it. And the reason I don't buy it is because it's based on what we have been doing, not what we are going to do. We are getting the information. We know things can be different. It's not going to take 125 years because we're going to change it. You remember these 2? Some of you won't even have been born. This would have been Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. Bobby Riggs was a old, fat, out of shape tennis player who thought any man could beat any woman when it came to tennis. Billie Jean King was about 30, at the top of her game, had just won the US Open, had just won Wimbledon, and was the top international women's tennis player. When this match was advertised, all right, I'm dating myself a bit, I was 7. I knew nothing about tennis. I didn't know anything about anything, but it was everywhere, on every channel. And even I, at the time, noted that there was a sort of derision in the way it was presented. Like, Bobby Riggs was, of course, going to win. And there was a little undertone of, we're going to put her in her place. Even I, at 7, could feel that. And I remember looking at all the commercials and I was like, what are they talking about? That guy is going to beat her? Like, of course she's going to win. And of course she did win. And there was a silence. Not only was there we were surprised. There was basically nothing. But it was a watershed moment in women's sport. Now we see women's basketball college tournaments being broadcast at the same level as the men's tournaments. We see amazing Canadian soccer. Those teams, people like watching women's soccer better than men's soccer. We are seeing the change. Never doubt one small act can change your world and can change your daughter's world, your sister's world, your aunt's world, and more importantly, your world. Run the line budget. Put it on your CV. Okay. Questions, anybody? Sorry. Yes.
So I mentor colleagues who are interested in leadership, both men and women, and no disrespect to my male colleagues, but I have noticed a pattern. Most of the time I spend time with my women mentees telling them they are ready from my analysis and looking. And spending time with my male mentees telling them they're not ready. Even though they want the job very, very much and they think they're ready. But this is not any individual person, this is just a pattern over time. But I think I am more careful actually with readiness, because if I over convince someone that they're ready when they're in truth not, they could damage their chances very long term, because you don't get a lot of stabs at high level positions and if you don't demonstrate competence. So I just wanted to know if you had any other input or further input into that.
You know, I think part of this is how we raise our children. Boys are taught to just go and do it again. Imagine a man comes into the room and wants to go on a date with somebody. Do you think he figures he's going to get a date from everybody in the room? Well, I hope not. But will he stop after he asks the first girl out?
No.
He will continue to ask until he succeeds. And he is taught that that's okay. Just keep asking. So what if you don't succeed? And girls are not taught that. They're taught to be polite and wait. Be polite and wait. So we see asking as some kind of impolite action for women, and it's just not. Just ask. That's the other thing. What's the worst thing that can happen? Someone says no. If your female mentee is not quite ready, but she says, you know what, I'm gonna ask, I'm gonna try. The best that we can do for that person is then to get that network and to get the support, so that she can continue to succeed. There's a wonderful woman, Trish Manduel, who is working out of Coquitlam and runs a group called Synergy consultants for boards of directors. And one of the big things she talks about is how they not only get people onto boards of directors, women and minority people, but she also offers a whole network of support through this company. So once you're on that board, if you're stuck or you need some help, there's somebody there to back you up. And this is the piece that I think is often missing. Because women, just as you were saying, wind up in this place where they think, if I tell them I don't know something, I'm gonna get fired, or they're gonna think I'm stupid. Whereas a guy who gets in there says, you know what? I went to Eli and I said, Eli, I'm stuck. How do I do this? And Eli is flattered. He's asking my expertise. Yeah, come on, we'll go for a beer, let's talk about it. All right? That extra support is the key. Yeah. Anybody, yes?
I do have a very quick question about the importance of building multiple perspectives. Like somewhere in the presentation you mentioned that we should have an eye for multiple perspectives.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to seeking perspective, we should be having male perspective and the female perspective.
Yes.
So for a woman who has been bullied, let's say, hypothetically, how important is it for that woman to seek a male perspective? Like in what ways are male perspectives important? Because there are upsides and downsides to both perspectives,
There
right?
are, and that's the key. There are upsides and downsides to both perspectives. Let's be clear, we're not talking about every guy in the world is terrible. We're not saying that.
Sure.
Find those great guys. Okay, if you were bullied, the chances are good, if someone was bullied, the chances are good they were bullied by someone who was either less qualified or was just being a jerk, or someone who was scared. You scared them. You scared them by being competent. Okay, you scared them by wanting the job that they want. And getting those other perspectives helps you to see how to go around and how to go through. I'll never forget, one of the women I interviewed was the president of a large university in England. And she was talking about how she started out and she was on these boards of directors and going into these meetings. And there was one man in these meetings who consistently kept trying, she felt, his goal was to make her cry at every meeting, to talk to her and poke at her until she was in tears. And she left one of the meetings and was walking back with another male colleague. And she said this to him. She said, I swear to God, he just wants me to cry. And that's what his point is, not to win the argument. And the guy said, yeah, you know what, Jane? If he could make me cry, he'd do it to me too. Don't take it so personally. That's who he is. She had a great perspective that helped her see through that. And she was feeling like it was her. And he was like, no, he's a jerk to everybody, that guy. That is why you need these different perspectives, right? Because we can get into that, it's too personal too. I'm sorry, I'm really cutting into your lunch hour, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Anything else?
so much.
Thanks, everybody.